welcome back, everybody. Trienne here, your leadership performance coach. I'm so excited to be back with another episode for you guys on our Be That Create That social channels, because today is a new day, right? So today I've been having a great conversation with our guest the last couple times we've spoken. And one of the things that we noticed is that he gets the great trophy of being our first male speaker on the podcast. And you guys are going to love the takeaways that you get from my conversation today with Andy. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him from backstage, and we'll get to know more about what Andy's about and the impact that he is out there making a difference on his world. So here we are. Hello, hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm so glad to have you on, and I'm so thankful for being able to make this work, because it is 7:30 in the morning where you are, right?
A little early. It's all right. It's all good. I love it. Well, I had to giggle a little bit at the introduction there. I feel like I've kind of lived in a woman's world most of my life. I had a huge family. I live in Southwest Colorado, and my mom had 2 sisters, and then all of the cousins were girls until the point where I was like, I think in high school. So I was like literally the only boy outside of, dad and uncles and that kind of stuff. So, and then I went into elementary education, which is kind of a female dominated space. So it is funny. And, thank you for the honor of letting me be the first guy on your thing. But it was amusing to me, the intro, and then also just kind of reaching out. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm the right fit for your audience here. So hopefully we can work past that. But like you said, we've had some fun conversations, so this should be good.
Yeah, the first time that we talked, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to love that. Oh, that's a great point. So I think that there are a number of different avenues that we can go from. First of all, why don't you just give us a little background about, how you got to be doing the role that you're doing right now. I find it really interesting that you had just purchased your company back in January. So give us a little chronological on that.
Gotcha. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, shall we say,
Yeah.
right? So I was born and raised in Southwest Colorado in a little town called Cortez. If you've ever heard of Mesa Verde or Durango, we are kind of tucked away in that little southwest corner of Colorado. It's a beautiful place. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. We got to drive 4 hours to get anywhere, but that's been our reality since I was born. Was very active in band, loved music, came out of high school thinking I would be a music teacher. So I went to Adams State, was college at the time. Now it's university in Alamosa on the other side of the mountain, and got my elementary ed degree with a minor in music, and returned home. That wasn't the original plan, but it transpired that way. God had bigger plans. And I came back to Cortez and taught 3rd grade for a few years, bounced around into some administration jobs. About the 2nd or 3rd year out of college, I was like, I think I want to be a leader. I think that's the angle or the trajectory I want to kind of put my career on. So I went back to school for my master's in education leadership, got my principal licensure, and then it was kind of a back and forth between classroom and administration for the remainder of those 9 years. So I guess 6 years back and forth between classroom and administration. And towards the end of that, it was a little bit of a frustrating experience. I was hoping that I would be an administrator. I thought that I had paid my dues. I was doing everything that I thought that I needed to. And but I've always loved technology. So at that time, there was a lovely lady that ended up being my boss for a little while that came down and did a conference on a specific type of technology that I thought was the coolest thing since sliced bread. And it engaged kids and it made things easier for students. And I was hooked and I absolutely loved it. So that started the whole process of me kind of leaving education and getting into ed tech. And I've actually been in ed tech longer than I've been in education, which is kind of crazy, because still the people here in Cortez think are like, oh, what are you teaching now? I'm like, well, I own a company and I teach half a million cadets how to use technology. They're like, what? So yeah, it's kind of been a weird trip. And then so I've worked for Interactive Learning for this will be the 12th year, and I just bought it in 2022. So it was January, but it's actually been a couple years ago. So I'm coming into year 3. Hopefully gaining some momentum on that. It's fun to chart your own path, which is kind of I don't know, just kind of how that all happened. It's like, maintain, do some growing pains. And now we're trying to grow into a new area, which is fun and exciting, but also a little bit scary. So And then along the
Yeah,
way,
I love that you were able to, you had so many different aha opportunities that
oh my
came
God,
up that
yeah.
you're like, well, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do
Mhm.
this. And I mean, truly, that is our own personal leadership, listening to our intuition and going,
Right,
well, that sounds interesting.
right.
Not that I don't like it over here, right? I
Sure.
loved my job that I left to
Right.
become an entrepreneur. I
Yep.
just got to the point where I was so comfortable in it that I was like, I need that challenge. I
Right.
need more, right? So
Right.
you've been doing interactive learning now, and share with me again how many schools that you guys go through and kind of explain the program.
Yeah. So interactive learning, I'll pull this up here just to kind of show you. We're kind of proud of our new tagline, um, empowering the future of education. So that's
Mhm.
was done very thoughtfully because we kind of hit on both angles of that. We do engaging technologies and leadership curriculum as kind of our two main niches. But honestly, our claim to fame and kind of really what built interactive learning into the company that I bought a couple of years ago was our work with JROTC. It's a high school citizenship program. They're ran by military organizations, but it's not a military program. It's really just how to be a better citizen, be a better leader. And that's the 500,000 students that I'm talking about. So I'm not working with each one of those, but we do work with the instructors, which is probably a good 10,000 between all of the different branches, and helping them to use and leverage technology. We also help them with their curriculum and get that in an engaging setting where it's not just sit and get. Historically, it was very much standing up there telling war stories, and not completely due to our technology, but definitely that played a part. It kind of shifted it into an educational focus where there are standards and we are learning, and we've got a future trajectory of what we're going to be doing as cadets and as leaders in the country. So that's been kind of that's kind of what established the company. Like I said, now we're trying to branch off into other new, promising, engaging technologies and expanding our leadership, even down into the middle school, trying to catch those kids where they may be, wondering, what does my future look like? Do I want to go to college? Do I not? Is military an option? Again, not pushing one avenue over the other. It's just trying to kind of expand their horizons, let them know that there is a big world out there outside of their little hometown.
Yeah, and to try to get them to think outside of today, right? My daughter has wanted to be a pilot now since she got to sit in the cockpit of a plane when we were delayed one time now for 3 years. And the end goal is I want to be a pilot, right? And then we were able to kind of reverse engineer it and go, okay, if I want to be a pilot, my options of getting there are private
Right.
pilot, commercial pilot, da da da.
Yep.
So teaching them that yes, there is so much more out there than this sixth grade stuff and things
Right.
that you're going through.
Right.
And you get to decide, you get to
Mhm.
lead yourself what
Right.
that's going to look like. And it almost sounds to me like your curriculum is making a part of their everyday vocabulary. It's almost
Mhm.
like why would I not think this way? And
Right.
I love that.
Right. Absolutely. And actually, a brand new thing, just because I got an email from from the CEO right before we hopped on here. A new solution that we brought on is called Work Tour, and I'm super excited about that. It's all about providing career exploration for students, right? Middle school, high school. And don't. It's because it's new. I don't have all the stats memorized, but
Mhm.
basically, a lot of these students only have exposure to maybe 2 or 3 career paths because that's what mom
Mhm.
did, right? That's what my favorite aunt did. But outside of that, and unless the school is being purposeful about getting them into spaces where they can learn new things, their exposure to that is just so limited. And this is a virtual reality, goggle free, so you don't have to wear goggles. But then they can explore and say, "Hey, what does HR do? What does sales do? What does a food scientist do?" And then they get to explore all these different things. And it's very much self directed, which is kind of a fun thing. And kids end up spending hours longer than what was assigned to them. So I'm super excited about that for that very reason, because there is so many options out there for kids.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing is here we are with your two logos, right? So one for interactive learning and one for empowered learning for your podcast, which we will definitely get into.
Yeah.
But the word, I'm getting goosebumps right now. The word empower,
Mm.
whether it's empowered, empowering, whatever it is. So how did you come to bring that into the vocabulary? But also, I mean, does it do that for you that does for me where I'm just like, oh gosh, it's just
Yeah.
this opportunity to make such an impact?
Right. It definitely does. And so interactive learning obviously came before empowered learning, and we created the empowering the future of education just recently. So maybe it's just something down in my gut that empowered just kind of resonates with me as well. Um, if you can't tell, I may be a business owner and a salesperson, trainer, all this kind of stuff, but my heart is still in the classroom.
Mhm.
I desperately want to impact the future generations. I do that in a different way. That took me a long time to accept that, I guess. I mean, there's definitely a lot of negative energy and pre-misconceptions about salespeople, right? They think they're all salesy and sleazy, and they're just trying to push things, and that's never been my approach. That's a hard nut to crack, right? When people don't know you, but I'm hoping as people get to know me and we have conversations, they hear the heart of interactive learning and empowered learning, of just like, how can we empower future generations? How can we empower learning? Be that through technology, or being that through just experiences that open their eyes to the world out there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of ads come through, like my Instagram or my TikTok, about there's a certain school in Texas that the kids really have their own AI tutors, so that they go to do their schoolwork for like 2 hours,
Right.
and then the rest of the day they really are being taught leadership, entrepreneurship,
Yep.
real world experiences. And the more I see that stuff, the more I'm like, gosh, we need to move to Texas. But
Right.
you're sharing, it doesn't matter if you're in Texas, it doesn't matter if your kid goes to that school. Using some of these things, they can still get that same experience.
Right, right. Yeah, the work tour, like I said, is very new, and that's a fun thing that you can put in a classroom, and then every student has their own account where they can explore different routes. Back to the JRTC thing with interactive learning, we also have that middle school, which is we should call it Chisel, Character, Health and Fitness, Service and Leadership. So
Mhm.
that is the goal with that program, and yeah, that's really what we're going for all of those, is to just open eyes, broaden horizons. A lot of, honestly, Chisel programs, which is again middle school leadership. A lot of our main programs are in urban areas, and these kids, a lot of them do not have hope for what I'm going to do past school. And
Mhm.
VR, AR, AI, that all that stuff is incredible. There is nothing that replaces the connection between an authentic and a heart-centered leader, teacher that goes in there and speaks to their experiences, brings them under their wing, shows them what they could do in this world, believes in them. And I think that's why JRTC and Chisel have been so successful, is because we couple great technology, great curriculum with people that care and have a genuine concern for these kids.
So here's another thing. The last time I spoke with you, we talked about this a little bit before we got back on. I was like, okay, wait. So will you kind of introduce this
Yeah,
clear glass that you have on your screen that
you
is
bet.
so amazing?
You bet. It's kind of my go-to for I actually do the podcast with this, and don't ever really talk about it unless somebody asks. But it's a wonderful little studio in a box, right? So this measures kind of like a TV. So this is about 35 inches. I've got lights all the way around that I can turn up and down, so I can disappear if I need to go away. And then your first question, right, Trienne, was like, do I need to write backwards? And I am unfortunately not that smart. So I do not need to write backwards, which is wonderful. This camera right here flips the image for me. So light boards have been around a long time, but eGlass is the first one that has the light board and the software, everything all in one. We've got a microphone right down here. So I've got my fancy podcast microphone, but this one has a microphone, has lights, has everything you need to be able to record fun content for your kids, or do a podcast, or do a virtual meeting. It's super fun. There's so many applications for this cool tool.
I love it. I love it. And the first time that we talked, you were taking notes on there. And when I have to take notes, right? So I'm down here trying to take notes, and I feel like I lose a little bit of connection and contact with the person that I'm talking to. And I don't want them to feel that.
Yep.
So as you were doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And from a teacher's perspective,
Mhm.
because I do a lot of workshops and retreats and things like that. Again, what a useful tool to have
Mhm.
that right there.
Right.
So very good. Thanks for sharing that with us as
You bet.
well.
You bet.
So when
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So when we go to your Empowered Learning podcast, because you mentioned that a couple of times as well, I'm going to make sure that while we're on here, I get that website up there for you. So share maybe the kind of content that they're going to be hearing and seeing from your podcast.
Super fun. Yes. So I've been actually working on that probably 6 months up to the point where I released it in January of 24. Went through an awesome podcast course. So I'm kind of a perfectionist, which is a good and a bad thing. The whole paralysis by analysis, that is kind of me to a T. So we had to kind of bust through that. I saw a really cool image that was basically, your first workout's going to be terrible. And it listed all these things. And one of them was your first podcast is going to suck. It's like, oh, okay,
Yep.
if I can get past the first one, then the rest of them are going to be good. So it's been a fun journey and continue to grow and learn this kind of stuff. So empowered learning, we talked about, the name empowered. I wanted to land in this space, having heard a little bit about, my upbringing and kind of the different things that we've done. I wanted to land in this space that we could have fun conversations in the K-12 realm, but also talk to entrepreneurs and business people that have been military leaders. I think the military has such amazing lessons to teach all of us. So I wanted to kind of live in that space where we could pull in leaders and educators from all of these different realms and just have fun, inspiring conversations, learn from them, tell stories. That's kind of what we've been doing so far. I think I'm on episode 14 in a couple months and just growing. And I think I've got 25 already recorded. So it's just a matter of trying to keep up with it. There's been a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of keeping up with things, because I kind of run into the same thing with my podcast. What is something, we talk about the morning routine. We talk about something that is a non-negotiable in our day a lot in the community, because I believe in that structure and that habit forming. So what is something, you obviously have a lot on your plate that you feel like, because I know you have kids also, we talked about that too. So what is something that you have as a non-negotiable every day that you're like, that right there holds me to be successful or to be accountable, so that we can focus on moving forward?
Right. I would love to say that every single day without fail, I always do these things, but that would be a lie and I'm not a liar. So I will say that the days that I am most successful, the days that I start off on the right foot, are the days that I do my morning routine. And my morning routine is a number of different things. I've got a Bible plan that I'll pray a little bit. And then I've got, I wouldn't call it a mantra, but it's kind of like that. It's just kind of some self-affirming statements talking about, people. It's not people like me. That's the SNL one. It's much more deep than that. But
I know what you're talking about, which is
what I was talking about. Right. I'm like, I'm not. What is that guy's name? Anyways,
gosh darn it, people like me.
People like me. It's so not that. I'm sorry. That was a terrible example. But
no, but I love it, because when you're thinking of affirmations specifically, as you're reading through those affirmations, I remember the first couple times that I did it, I was like, this is complete BS. I don't know why I'm even reading through these. That is not who I am. Da, 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 da. Well, the longer now that I've done that, and the first couple times, I laughed at myself. It's like, oh, I'm a wealthy woman, blah, blah, blah. No, I am a wealthy woman in so many different ways in my life. So those affirmations, you got to get through that part where you're just laughing at yourself and know that work will come to fruition for you.
I agree. I had a personal coach that got me into the habit of doing that. And he likened it to a washing machine, right? Clothes don't know that they're being washed, right? So the process of going through this and yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's awkward. Yes, it's weird. But just doing the process is the thing, right? I mean, that's what matters. Whether you feel like it, whether it's, you're just resonating with all of the words every single time, it's the doing that makes the difference, not so much the belief in it. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that is a great analogy as well. Analogy and metaphor. I'm not really quite sure which one it is, but I was picturing it in my head. You're right, where it's going to get bumpy. It's going to get tossed around. It is what it is. But at the end, you are going through the process, and that's what's important. Right. So I love that.
Yep.
Good. So when you think of the podcast, like, where are you hoping that's, where that's going to take you? Because one thing I have learned about you in our couple conversations is that you don't do anything that isn't intentional. So where does this podcast fit in, and where's it going?
That's very good. It's an intentional thing. I have to remind myself of the intentionality of it, because there are times where I get kind of lost in the doing of this stuff, right? I mean, the booking and the reaching out and this kind of stuff. There's so many, and this is probably something for people that are maybe thinking about, hey, I should do a podcast, which you definitely should, because it's very, very rewarding. There are so many aspects that are unseen that take time. And that was a that was an aha moment for me, honestly, as that this could be very much a part-time job if I just wanted to do that. But as far as like where I see it going and what my desires are for it is to continue to bring on just amazing folks that have an interesting perspective on empowering learning and leadership, having fun conversations. I think honestly, at this point, my main goal is just to get in front of a bigger audience. I mean, I feel like the episodes that we've done have been phenomenal. I've enjoyed them. I've been in this space a long time and I learn something new every single time, like without fail. So I know that the content is good. I just don't know if there's enough people seeing that yet. And then very much a secondary thing, but because of interactive learning and because it is a part-time job, I would love to be able to start relationships, not necessarily like sell through the podcast, but start relationships that then we can branch off into the business aspect and say, hey, what can we do to help you with your technology or leadership? But again, on the backside, not something where we're doing that to pitch them. It's just kind of a fun thing. As we build relationships, we can start working together.
Right. Yes. So definitely is some intentionality to it, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on with me today. I so appreciate your perspective and the things that you have introduced our community to, which I think many of them are brand new for them. And because I know that their community is always about continuous learning, I think that they'll really enjoy the podcast. We've got the link that down there for you, and I'll make sure that that gets in the show notes when we put this up on the YouTubes and the business page and in our specific podcast. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. Andy, is there anything specific that you want to share with how they can follow you, how they can get in connection with you after the episode is live?
Yes, thank you for that. So the podcast website will take you to all the different links. We've got it on Amazon. I'm sorry, gracious, Amazon, Apple. We've got it on Spotify, YouTube. It is a video podcast because I'm using the e-glass. So I think there might be one that's just audio that it's not on. So it is a video podcast. So just be aware of that. One other thing, just because some of the episodes might be a little bit longer, we do have, and this is part of that work aspect, we do have shorts. So we have YouTube shorts, and I think we're up to like 50 videos, right? So if you don't have time to watch an entire episode, go check out a short that the title resonates with you. And then if that's something really cool, I had a really cool guest on that was on a TEDx speaker, Kelsey. She was an absolute fireball, and that conversation went long just because she had so much to say. But I think I have like 7 different little clips from that. So check out the shorts to get an idea of what the episodes are, and then you can dive into ones that are interesting to you.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but my attention span is so short these days that I'll start listening to one, but then I'm doing something else over in another screen and I have to make myself go over. And that's after like 5 seconds.
Yep.
So yes, that's wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for being on with us today. I really appreciate your time. And obviously hope that we'll be able to collab on some things in the future because I love what you're doing.
Would love that. Thank you, Trienne. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys, you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.